Obey the Walrus. It's actually kind of surprising just how many people want me to cover this and how many people are actually scared by this video. See, this video is old. Like, old. How old? Well, how's 14 years sound? Yeah, I can't honestly believe so many people still remember this video. Maybe that's just the power of this video, because really, I admit, it's really not one that sticks out at the top of my head. But I've been flooded with requests for this one video, so let's dive deeper. First and foremost, this video started out as just a weird video uploaded by someone in Mexico titled Obedece a la Morsa, which of course means obey the walrus. It's actually the first time I ever learned what walrus was in Spanish. It's not very common, to see a walrus in Mexico. The video featured Andros from the original Star Fox game singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider song in Spanish, then proceeding to speed up that version of the song with some trippy visuals. Then the song is brought up to a drastic slowdown reverb as we see someone with some sort of body deformity tap dancing with an umbrella. Yeah, reciting that sentence makes me realize just how random and weird that is. Probably the reason so many of us were fascinated by the video in the first place. Then we cut to the same woman slowly approaching the camera as the song fades away. As she gets closer, the video does a heart wipe transition into a walrus, and then that's it. Just over a minute long, yet somehow it stuck with us for nearly 15 years. 33 million views in total, plus some 6 million more views from the re-upload by David Nunez, which is where most of us probably watched it. Now, there's quite a bit to unwrap here, and don't worry, we will, but let me ask you guys something. When you watched this video, did you laugh, or were you unsettled in any way? Yeah, this is a real weird thought experiment for some reason. It's kind of like the blue dress, gold dress debacle some people had years back. Either you're the sort of person who found this video amusing and kind of funny, or you're the type of person who got kind of scared and sort of unnerved. You fall into one of each category, or maybe both. The reasoning behind this is really just the way your mind is built. This video accidentally teaches us on how our mind works, and while I can't be too specific in the risk of just getting things wrong, essentially the video either suits to your specific tastes in comedy, or it's a video that warns your brain to be shielded from, so you get scared and react differently than those who find it funny. I personally think it's just kind of freaky, and I won't lie, when I first saw this video it did have me looking over my shoulders. Something about it just activates a fight or flight sort of trigger in my brain. I remember watching it in my dark, dimly lit room back in 2009, and this was around the time when I was like figuring out what creepypastas were, as well as debating whether or not they were real. If I'm not mistaken, this is actually a creepypasta. Like, somebody uploaded this as a creepypasta back in the day, though I don't know if I can find it anymore. In fact, if you read the description, you can probably see a glimpse of what the story was. You'll find a dark and hidden secret in the video description, something about it placing a curse on you, and this video being the product of some backwater cult in Latin America called La Morsa that worships walruses or whatever. It's ridiculous and obviously not true, but it's spiced up the story enough to make people just get a bit more interested and a bit more spooked. In reality, it was most likely a video made by some random teenager in Mexico, and yes, we can tell it's from Mexico because of the location found on top of the video, and they probably thought it'd be funny to just make this weird video because late 2000s humor was all about just being random. Of course, the centerpiece of it all, and the person who piqued our interest the most, was of course Sandy Crisp, aka Goddess Bunny. Now, Sandy Crisp is a fascinating individual and difficult person to do research on, mainly because while she is very well known and is considered a local legend in California, much of her background comes from her word of mouth. Yeah, I'm not claiming everything about her is totally fabricated, but she is often known for exaggerating or romanticizing her past, so much of it may seem more exotic than it really is. What we do know is that Sandy Crisp was assigned male at birth, contracted polio shortly after her birth, and she was subjugated to a lot of malpractice from her doctors, deforming her body further and disfiguring it permanently. Things didn't get any better when she was sent to a foster home after her parents divorced, where they would physically and sexually abuse her due to her gender identity. The person who ran the foster home was also just a vile piece of shit. Like, they would just give any of the kids spoiled milk if they didn't pray every night, which is just shitty. She returned back to her mother at the age of 14, telling her how she identified as a trans woman, yet her mother, being deeply religious, rejected Sandy's identity, refusing to call her by anything but her dead name. Sandy had a brutal upbringing, and of course, her disability did not make things any better. Yet Sandy Crisp lived her life the way she wanted to live. Despite having polio, a disease that rarely sees its victims past the age of 10, Sandy lived on to be 61 by the time of her death. And throughout her years on this earth, she graced the world with her dancing, the things she loved to do so much for everyone, and she lived her life as a woman, free from anyone's judgment, the way she wanted to live. She had sex with every man that wanted her, even having sex with, and apparently this is true, she had sex with the entire college football team one night and was arrested on charges of prostitution, where she spent the night in jail, yet she was allowed to sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow over the intercom of the jail, pretty much putting everyone to sleep. She made an appearance in the Marilyn Manson music video, The Dope Show, and 2 other music videos. She starred in 9 movies, 5 of which she was just herself, some of them being all about her. She visited foster homes and hospitals just to sing and dance to the children and nurses, and she does it all with a smile. She was a singer, a dancer, a model, a star by every definition, a Hollywood diva in every sense. And yet we've reduced her to just being that thing that dances in Obey the Walrus. Now, in no way do I want to make us feel bad for thinking Obey the Walrus was creepy or that Sandy was creepy in the video. In many ways, the video is still creepy, despite what we know of Sandy Crisp. It's just how our minds work, unfortunately. But much like when we talked about Shay St. John, I want to remember the Goddess Bunny for who she was instead of what we knew her from. Lots of people will still find Obey the Walrus scary. Again, don't blame me for that. But man, when I researched the Goddess Bunny, Sandy Crisp, I couldn't help but be inspired by her. Here's someone who was dealt one of the shittiest hands any man, woman, or child could ever be dealt. But not only did she play that hand and win, but she rose above that deck of cards we call life. She lived it the way she wanted to live, and she loved every moment, despite the many hardships she faced in her past and later on in her adulthood as well. She thrived in her environment, and she rocked the world beneath her feet. She's one in a million, and someone I've only barely scratched the surface of. Sadly, Sandy Crisp passed away this year due to COVID. Lana Del Rey even posted about it on her Instagram. The end of a story for one of Hollywood's lost legends. Now, like I said, there's still so much about her I haven't even begun to mention or talk about, so I highly recommend watching this video titled Goddess Bunny, The Forgotten Story of a Hollywood Icon, made by her son. Also, her documentary Goddess Bunny is available on YouTube as well. I really have nothing more to say about Obey the Walrus, honestly, but when you have someone who's far more interesting like Sandy Crisp, you can't help but be magnetized and just talk all day long about her. Rest in peace, Goddess Bunny.